Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into what I honestly consider to be biology's greatest plot twist. We're going to completely unpack how one single discovery literally shattered our understanding of life on Earth and forced scientists to completely redraw the map of biodiversity. If you thought biological classification was just, some dusty old list of Latin names to memorize, well, you're in for a massive surprise today.
So let me ask you, how well do you actually know your evolutionary family tree? Just imagine finding out that the cousin you grew up with is actually from a completely different ancestral lineage, and the random guy across the street, he's actually biologically closer to you. Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what went down in the biology world. For the longest time, scientists were pretty confident they had the blueprint of Earth's biodiversity completely figured out. Everything was neatly organized into these distinct little boxes. But as we're about to see, the microscopic world was hiding a massive, massive family secret. Let's start with Section 1, the status quo, the five-kingdom system. To really get how this all evolved, we need to jump back to 1969. That's when an American ecologist named Robert Whittaker formalized what we call the five-kingdom system. The core idea here was actually pretty simple. Organisms with a true membrane-bound nucleus, the eukaryotes, so that's plants, animals, fungi, protists, they each got their own kingdoms. But all the simple nucleus-free cells, the prokaryotes, they just got lumped together into one giant group called Kingdom Monera. The basic assumption was, well, since they all lack a nucleus, they must be pretty much the exact same thing, right? But then, fast forward to 1990, and an American microbiologist named Carl Woese makes a discovery that completely shatters those old rules.
You see, Woese decided to look a bit deeper than just physical appearances. He started analyzing the molecular evidence and the genetics, which brings up a huge question. What if those prokaryotes were hiding a secret? His genetic sequencing proved that the organisms stuffed into that single Monera kingdom, they were absolutely not all evolutionarily identical. In fact, some of them were as different from typical bacteria as, say, a human is from a mushroom. This one realization basically broke biology as we knew it.
Which brings us to Section 2, the three-domain plot twist.
What's super interesting here is how this new three-domain system completely broke up the prokaryotes. As you can see, we now have Domain Archaea and Domain Bacteria. Now, both of these are prokaryotic, meaning they still don't have a true nucleus, but they are entirely separate lineages. Meanwhile, everything that does have a true nucleus, you, me, plants, fungi, gets grouped together into Domain Eukarya. So that old kingdom Monera, boom, essentially erased from the map, split right down the middle by this new genetic evidence.
Moving right along to Section 3, meet the extremophiles. What exactly are Archaea?
Let's get a clear definition on the board first. Archaea are prokaryotic organisms that are structurally and genetically totally distinct from bacteria. Fun fact, when scientists first found them, they completely misidentified them. They called them Archaeobacteria, just because, well, under an old microscope, they kind of looked like bacteria. But the name Archaea actually comes from the Greek word archaios, which means ancient. And that is an incredibly fitting name, because they often thrive in the most extreme environments you can imagine. We're talking boiling hydrothermal vents, hypersaline lakes, highly acidic pools, basically conditions that perfectly mirror the harsh, chaotic environment of the ancient early Earth.
So what do these ancient survivors actually look like, and how do they work? Physically, they have some wild characteristics. We're talking tiny individual cells ranging from 0.1 to 15 micrometers, though some filaments can stretch way out to 200 micrometers. And their shapes are just bizarre. They aren't just your standard spheres or rods. Some archaea are lobed, and some are literally rectangular, no joke. When it comes to reproducing, they are strictly asexual. They use methods like binary fission, multiple fission, fragmentation, and budding. But here is a massive takeaway if you're studying this. Archaea do absolutely no mitosis and no meiosis. Zero. Those processes belong strictly to the eukaryotes.
Let's dive deeper in Section 4, microscopic evidence, looking at cell walls and membranes.
If you look closely at this side-by-side comparison of their cellular membranes, things get really interesting. Archaea possess membrane lipids that are made of branched hydrocarbon chains connected by ether linkages. On the flip side, both bacteria and eukarya, yep, that includes both everyday bacteria and us, we generally have unbranched fatty acid chains connected by ester linkages. Now, I know that sounds like minor chemical trivia, but it's not. Those unique ether linkages and branched chains, that's what gives Archaea their superpower. It completely stabilizes their cell membranes, letting them survive extreme heat, intense salt, and severe acidity that would literally melt a standard bacterial cell.
And the differences don't even stop at the membrane. They extend right into the cell wall too.
This table right here is a fantastic 1-2 punch comparison. Check out bacteria. Their cell walls are primarily built out of a structural polymer called peptidoglycan. Plants, they use cellulose. Fungi use chitin. But archaea, they break the mold entirely. They completely lack standard peptidoglycan. Instead, they build their cell walls out of totally distinctive polysaccharides and proteins, sometimes using this stuff called pseudomurane. Literally, from the inside out, they are just built differently.
Grasping these structural differences is absolutely crucial. So here's a brilliant, high-yield memory trick to lock this dense biochemistry into your brain for good. The ABE rule. ABE, Archaea, Bacteria, Eukarya. That reminds you of the 3 domains, 2 prokaryotic, 1 eukaryotic. And for their membrane superpower, Archaea equals ether plus branched. Seriously, repeat that to yourself. Archaea equals ether plus branched. It's the defining feature that completely separates them from the rest of the biological world.
All of this leads us perfectly into Section 5, redrawing the family tree.
To redraw this map, scientists had to rely heavily on phylogeny. Simply put, phylogeny is the evolutionary history and relationships among organisms, usually visualized as a big branching tree stemming from a common ancestor. But the critical shift here? This new phylogenetic tree was built using deep molecular evidence. It was totally based on comparing genetic sequences and cellular machinery, not just surface-level physical similarities. They were finally tracing the true DNA lineage, not just looking at outward appearances.
And this deep genetic analysis revealed something absolutely mind-blowing. Archaea and Eukarya actually share a closer evolutionary relationship than either of them does with bacteria. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Even though Archaea and bacteria are both prokaryotes, meaning they look super similar under a basic microscope and neither of them has a nucleus, Archaea are actually closer genetic relatives to us, the Eukarya, than they are to bacteria. We literally share more cellular machinery and genetic sequences with these weird, ancient extremophiles than they do with the normal bacteria living on your skin right now. How crazy is that?
Which leaves us with a final, incredibly provocative thought. If Archaea thrive in Earth's absolute most extreme ancient conditions that look a lot like our volatile young planet, and molecular evidence proves that they are our closest microbial relatives, well, what does that say about the origin of all complex life? Are the ancestors of every single plant, animal, and human born from the scorching heat and crushing pressure of an ancient extreme Earth? It completely reframes our entire place in the universe. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer of the 3-domain system. I think it really just goes to show. Sometimes the biggest secrets of life are hiding right in plain sight, just waiting for the exact right lens to reveal them.
Like, subscribe, and join us for more amazing videos!